So guys, basically before starting, let me just introduce our panelist over here. So we have Legrad Vaz with us, who has been working on OpenAI for quite some time now, and he's developed more than 5 or 6 softwares basically based on OpenAI. So we've been trying to organize a webinar basically to create awareness about the OpenAI and its applications. So basically, this would be an introductory call or introductory webinar to explain about what are the capabilities of OpenAI and how basically from the developer's perspective, how you can implement these things to create a software or basically to use this OpenAI for improving the productivity. Okay. So Ligrad is working with us for more than 3 years now, and he's been a certified member of Magento, as well as he's been working on OpenAI for past 1.5 years now. So yeah, Ligrad, you can start with the session.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so let's get started with the OpenAI and ChatGPT. So we have been hearing about this in our daily life as of now. So OpenAI has been always been there, but it came to a picture when the ChatGPT 3 and ChatGPT 4 came into picture. So, OpenAI is based AI-based artificial intelligence company that benefits to the humanity. Basically, it eases the task of humans by analyzing the natural language which the humans talk to computer, and then it gives you the solutions. Okay. So basically, they have different models which they have built called as GPT-3, GPT-4, and the different tools which allows you to communicate with them, query the models, and you get the desired output. So one of the powerful, the conversational AI that they developed is a ChatGPT 3 initially, and then they came up with the newer version 3.5 Turbo, and now recently they came up with the version GPT 4. Yeah, so we will go into the deep at the later stage in each of these models. And what makes it special is it takes the input in the human readable or in the human language, I would say, and it gives you the output in a human readable format, which makes him highly specialized models to used in the wide range of applications, basically. So let's go ahead and look at the agenda, what we are looking into in this session. We are going to look into the GPT-3. What are the application use cases, limitations? What are the key concept when it comes to GPT-3 you should keep in mind? And finally, we'll be looking at the playground and then how we can play with the models over here. So, so the core functionality of the AI or the core part is the natural language processing. Okay, so it's a critical component in the development of GPT-3, and why it's critical is it's basically the model needs to understand in what context the human is trying to communicate with the system. What is the context? What is the language of it? And it shouldn't change the context of the input when it gives the output. So NLP is just a subfield, I would say, of artificial intelligence that would allow you just communicate with computers. Okay, and they have a different sort of algorithms to understand the context, the interpret it, and then they give you the meaningful and the same context answers to you or the result to your queries. So let's go forward. And then why NLP is important to the chat GPT. So first of all, it needs to understand the user input. Now, when we see understanding the user input over here, So user inputs certain text. Okay, so if you say I want to write an onboarding email for the new joinee, it needs to understand like this is the context with respect to a company, and company with respect to company needs to write this particular email. He needs to see now in which language you need to write a welcome email. So if you ask him in the English, he's going to write it in the English for you. Okay. So this is the understanding, the awareness of it basically. Then context awareness is basically the conversation that you are doing, okay, the words and the relationship between the words, it needs to be aware of, and it needs to aware of in which context they are actually, the human is actually communicating with the computer and trying to get the results. The next thing is language generation. And now, when you interact with the chat GPT, you get the response in a language that you want. Okay. So it understands the input what you have given, in what type of language you have given, okay, what type of words you have used, phrases you have used, okay, and then it helps you to create the smooth and contextual appropriate response that you can easily understand basically. Okay. And it can handle the multiple languages basically. Now, there are various languages which the chat GPT can understand is only because of NLP. Okay, so it's basically there is different algorithms which makes it support the multiple languages. Okay, and you can interact with the chat GPT in a different languages basically. The syntax of it and then the grammar of it all understands based on these algorithms and the different languages that it can handle. Then the most important is the sentiment analysis and emotional recognition. Okay, so sentiment analysis and emotional recognition of user basically in what emotion the user is trying to ask its query to the chat GPT, and in the same sentiment or the emotion or the context he is going to the model is going to give you the best solution or the best response against it. And then at last is the improved user experience. Okay, so by using NLP, it's more natural conversational experiences that a model observes. Okay, and it tries to improve the user experience based on his training. So this is why the NLP is most important part of the chat GPT. So we don't see it, but it behind the scene, it's the NLP is the one who gives you all those desired results in whichever language you want, whichever context you want. It understands the context and everything. Let's move ahead. Now we a lot of hearing about GPT, Chat GPT. So GPT is generative pre-trained transformer. Okay, and it's transformer 3, and then it's transformer 4. Okay, so it understands and generates a human-like text and predicting the most appropriate words in phases of a given input. So when you give an input, as I mentioned, the NLP is the playing bigger role over here. It understands all your context, your relationship between the words and the phrases. Okay, and it basically tries to predict what is the result that you need in the same context and in the same emotion basically. And what are the key features of it is first is versatility, and the versatility is clearly says that including a text completion, it writes the summarization for you, question answering it can do the language translation for you. So it's a very versatile. It can do the different type of task for you. Okay, the text completion is something that we are using in our daily life, or if you want to write a blog or anything, You can ask part by part questions to it, or a full question of summarizing entirely, so it can answer your questions answers very easily. Context awareness, as I mentioned to you, it uses the NLP and understand and maintains the context within the conversation. It doesn't divert from the context or the conversation, and it basically it gets trained what you have asked him previously, the model, and it continues from there. And the few shot training is something that is you pass him the simple information, the minimal task specific information you pass, it trains itself. And then if you ask the certain questions to be answered based on that the content which you pass to him, it's going to answer that for you. Okay. So the for example, if you provide a job description and you want to write a proposal for your client, if you provide a job description, if you tell him the okay, you write me the proposal for this, based on the description it's going to write a proposal for you. So the input which you pass is a training, and then what output it gives you is the answer based on your job description and the natural language that uses. So, and the large scale of training is uh, so OpenAI, what they have done is they have used a wide range of internet data set to train their models. So basically, training is nothing like when we are in the childhood, we learn from our parents, our brain learns it. You have a neurons and all those stuff. So the same thing is comes over here. You have big training data sets. The model learns it, and obviously there are over here perceptrons and the neurons involved, and then they learn it, and then this the full model gets built, and then they give you the impressive performance because you have a large variety of data which they have already looked into. And whenever you ask something for it, it delivers you the quick results based on this training. Now, at times it happens that if you are passing some confidential data to this, it is not able to answer because it is not trained for that kind of a data. So there is no confidential data which you can ask to the chat GPT because it is not trained for it. Only the public data which it is trained for actually. So let's go forward. And the application and use cases of this the chat GPT, as you can see, is chatbots and virtual assistants. Yes, you can build a chatbot and virtual assistant on behalf of yours. The application can interact with your end users or your customers if you are in a business to get the results what they want. So basically, they will ask, "What are your business about?" You can answer it. Your chatbot can answer it. Obviously, the normal chat GPT model will not answer it because it doesn't know about your business. But definitely, you can train you can train the model, and you can make the chatbots and virtual assistants on your behalf and make it answerable. It can help you in the content generation. As I told you, you can write a proposals, you can write email templates, and all of your content generation you can directly do over here. And you can also do the summarizations. You can summarize the content, the conclusions you can make out from here. Translation, as I said, you have different language translations. In any language, you can transform it basically. Sentiment analysis, it recognizes your emotions and the context in which you are writing. It also helpful for the developers in a code generation. So you can generate the codes, providing them the scenario. What are you looking at? If you ask him them to design me an API endpoint in the Node.js, it's going to give you the full code when it comes to routers and then controllers, even the models. If you ask him to generate the MongoDB schema, it will give you all the fields with respect to all the validations and everything. You can write the emails. You can just fire the query. Okay, write an email for me of a user onboarding to a new company. It will write an email draft for you. Tutoring and the education. So this will definitely get explored in the future, in from now on as well, because this can definitely help in making the people learn about the new things, getting your issues resolved, whether it's a very minor issue or it could be a very big issue. It can definitely explore its data set and provide you the solution. One of the another key feature is the creative writing. This is greatly beneficial for the content writers, wherein they can write the creative content, and it also helps in data extraction. So the more you provide the data to this, like the key facts and all from the data, it gives you the information, a very uh, broader perspective and meaningful information it can give you from the data. So these are the application and use cases of it. Some of the limitations that we can see in the GPT models, okay, that's a lack of understanding. Now, what I mean to say lack of understanding meaning is at times when you interact with the chat GPT, it might produce you the incorrect results over there sometime at the first glance, maybe. Okay, not every time, but then as in when you chat with it, it understands that if it needs to change the context, it will change the context of it. Okay, so that is a lack of understanding. You cannot completely 100% cover all the contexts in the model basically, but it can change over when you communicate with the model. And sensitive to input phrasing. Uh, the model may provide you the different answers, okay, based on the slides changes that you do in the input phrasing. But so inconsistent response, and it may require the proper your prompt engineering it will require. So let's say you give some input to it, and then you it gives you some output, but you're not happy with that output. Ultimately what you're going to do is your input phrasing you're going to tweak in over them. You change that input phrasing and you try to generate a better output. So that is how it is sensitive to input phrasing. And privacy concern, as I mentioned, you cannot share the sensitive data over there, or it is not trained for sensitive data. Okay, or the confidential data you cannot ask for it. Okay, so it may raise the privacy concerns for you, and your trained data, your confidential data should not be visible outside of your privacy concerns actually. And misuse potential. So this is also one of the threat that people might can use. They can spam your email boxes using this technique, because as you can see, it can write the emails for you. So basically, hackers or any other people who are potentially dangerous, who can write the spam emails and can really spam you, and you might fall into this. So as an AI comes, you should be also aware of its limitation and the shortcomings of it, and what is the beneficial side of it. So let's. This was some of the concepts that we need to remember when you are interacting with the Chat GPT. So the three main concepts is the prompt that you're asking for your Chat GPT, the tokens, and the model. Okay. So the prompt is something that you send some instructions and it gives you the result. This is the what you send is the prompt, and the tokens is basically the number of tokens. So whatever prompt you send, the model is understanding by breaking them down into the tokens. It's not going to take your whole entire text into in one shot. It's going to take a one token at a time. It's going to understand the relationship between it, and it's going to generate a result for you. So if you ask like how many characters does one token take, it approximately takes 4 characters. Now that doesn't mean like the if there is a 5 character word, it will split into the two tokens. It doesn't happen that way. So it has an algorithm wherein you have larger words over there, it divides them, but if you cannot divide them evenly, it will just consider the floor value of it, and it's going to take those many number of tokens. And now again, the tokens are not just what is given in the response by ChatGPT, but the tokens are a combination of your input text and the output text. Okay, what you fed into the model, and what model gives you, that totally comes to the total number of tokens per request. And then the models, you can use any API and a set of models with the APIs that differs based on the capabilities and the pricing points. And you can use GPT 3.5 Turbo, GPT-4 or GPT-3. And GPT-4 is the latest and the powerful, most powerful model that is currently, as of now, supported. And the last thing is the playground. So you must have used the normal ChatGPT Trite app, uh, but if you see over there, you are not actually using the all the models which you want to use. But as a developer, yeah, you can try out all the models in the ChatGPT playground. So in here, if you look at this screenshot, they have a mode over here, chat or completion or anything. We will explore this. Then you can select the desired model, the parameters you can control, temperature, and you can put the message. Okay, write in a welcome email. It writes me an welcome email over here. Okay, so to give you the broader picture how the playground works, let me show you the playground how it works. Yeah, so this is the playground over here. So you can go to this playground of the OpenAI. You have a different modes over here. Chat complete from chat, you have a completion, insert, and edit. So if you go to completion, you have a different models. So as a developer, you can look out for the different type of a model which you can use from here. Text Evanic 3, which was the initially released one under the GPT-3, okay, as a completion module, and people were using it. And this you can is a it's a freely available, and you can use it at a free of cost actually. And then this is the important parameter of the any model basically. So you need to carefully pay attention over to this particular temperature parameter. When it reaches the zero, your output will not vary much. Okay, so every time it's going to give you the same output most likely, or the slide changes in it. Now at times you will not be happy with the answer that it has given. Okay, or every time if I'm writing an email template, asking him email template, it's writing the same template, it doesn't make sense. Some tweaks, some improvisation it needs to do. So basically you need to shift this temperature as per your need, but do not keep it at zero, otherwise you will get the same responses. And you see, you ask the query to your model, and then see what is the response you are getting. If you are not happy with the response, or the context or the randomness is not okay with of this, you need to increase this. So ideally the OpenAI suggests the temperature to be around in the zero point 0.4 to zero point 0.6. Okay, in the most of the application what we tried is the zero point 0.6, and between the zero point 0.5 it works fine. This is the maximum length parameter of a text generation basically. You can increase this, and you will have a proper answer that you need in full terms basically. If you keep it lesser, your result will get cut off when the chat GPT generates the response for you. Okay, so this is a maximum length, so always keep it at the higher high side. This is maximum length is nothing but a number of tokens that you need roughly in your response. And the stop sequence is also important when you provide a query to the chat GPT or the model. You need to provide a stop sequence. It could be the dot also. Your message ends with the dot, or it could be any other character which you can specify. So if your model doesn't detect that there is no stop sequence, it's going to understand the context, it's going to add some data to it, and then it's going to finish your prompt, and then it's going to go for the giving answer to you. So this is completion one. So if you ask him over here, write a onboarding email for new employee, and if you submit this, it's going to write you the onboarding email for you. Now, if you look at this, now if you want to really see how the code is, how the API is working, you can click on a view code over here, and it will give you the code, what code it has used to write the get the email template for you. So this is the tech stack which you want to use for. So currently supports Python, Node.js, and a normal curl in the JSON also you can use to directly make an request. What is the method type? Okay, what is the SDK that you need to use? What is the prompt that it has used? Okay, over here, and then it gives you the entire answer over here. So this is really helpful when it comes to the developers. And also you can save this. The next thing is, this is about the chat, and this is about the completion. We can always switch to a chat. The new thing is over here, what they have given is there is a system and then user and the assistant basically. In the system you can put all of your context. So let's say you have a company which is a software development company, you can put your entire profile over here, and then based on that profile, okay, you want to generate an email template or you want to find some information, you can put as a user query, and then it will give you the answers. Okay, the system is not mandatory, but user query is mandatory. At times you don't have a system and you go directly and ask for a query. So now in the chat mode, you have a two kind of models over here. One is ChatGPT 4, which is actually the paid one. If you have purchased, you will see the GPT 4 access for you, or otherwise you will see a GPT 3.5 Turbo. And GPT-4 0314 is also the paid one, and these are the free ones 3.5. So the difference between your GPT-4 and GPT 3.5 is the input that it takes and the training data set. So GPT-4 is designed to take, I think, more than or around 25,000 of tokens it can take as the input. So it's very helpful for you to make the model understand the context very well, and it gives you the desired output. And it is trained on a wide variety of data sets. It's been trained till the August on the internet data set. So this is the one thing which you can try out. If you want the API references, you can go to API references over here, and you can see how the APIs can help you to get the job done. So if you see over here, this is a full API reference. If you go to the chat and create chat completion, it gives you everything. The in required library, you will get your all the codes and what are the parameters, and the definition of each parameter is been given over here. If you want to generate images, you can go for images, create image, And there is something called as fine tunings. This is super important for your application. Now, fine tuning is something you can look into documentation first, and then you can jump into the coding. Fine tuning is something that ChatGPT doesn't know, and you want the ChatGPT to know about it. So it's basically your data, your business data, or your business logics, how it works. So you can prepare your data set, you can pass it to ChatGPT model, and you can train the existing ChatGPT model, and you can create your own model, and you can use it in the application. Okay, so right now, this is called as fine tuning. What I have just specified, it has fine tuning has three following steps. You need to prepare your and upload your training data, and then whichever model you are using, you just need to fine tune that model and use your fine tune model. So I'll just brief you on this. What models can be fine tuned is a text, Gemini, Curie, and Babbage model you can do. So for the text Dominic, you can use text Dominic 003 model. Okay. And if you're using Python, you can definitely install all these packages, Python packages, OpenAI packages, and then you need to prepare your data set in such a format. Okay, so this is a prompt. Will be the question, and this would be the ideal answer for it. Okay, so this is the data which you need to prepare in this particular format, and then you pass it to your model. So it will also help you in a data preparation. So once you install your OpenAI tools, the package, you can fire this command, you can fire your local file, it will prepare the data for you. Okay, the in whichever this thing is there, and it's going to train the model based on this. Now, once you train it and the base model you pass it to it, it's going to give you the fine-tuned created model, the ID of it. Once you get it, you need to use this now fine-tune model. You need to use this fine-tune model in your application. And then going ahead, instead of using the ChatGPT model, you can use this fine-tune model. So you can go through this documentation over here. So they have put over here, instead of the ChatGPT model, you can put the fine-tune model. So if you look at it over here. So this is your training file, what they have given, fine tuning, and then you can do the retrieval. Create completion remains the same. And then if you want to delete, then preparing the data set in what format you need. The different format that it accepts is basically there are different formats, which is CSV, I guess, JSON. Yeah. So over here, they have created the JSON file format. Yeah, so you have CSV, TSV, XLX, JSON, and JSON-L file. So in this way, you can even create your chatbots. You can train your own data to the ChatGPT model. You can fine tune it, and you can use it in your any of your custom applications. You can go through the all of the API references examples which are given over here. They are quite self-explanatory, and you can really make a good out of it. Yes, that's it mostly. And this was a more of a development side in the last few 15, 20 minutes on how the developers can use this OpenAI APIs. Yeah, thank you.